Hello, Dan. How are you today?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. I've had no crises. How about you?
Had a couple of crises. Actually, I was speaking to a Welsh person yesterday, and she was saying about how Welsh people always go off the negative, so not bad, as opposed to well.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's what English people do as well.
I think that's a great determinant of the general mood of a country. And I think we should have a map of the world in which it says either not bad or good, just to distinguish who's happy and who's not. Or I don't know if it's actually a measure of happiness or sadness, but it might be a measure of sanity.
Yeah, it might. I
or honesty. I don't know what it's gauging.
What have you been doing that's creative this week or related to the subject of our podcast vaguely, even though we're going to wildly veer off as ever?
This is, it's maybe too enticing because I can't share it fully. It's not like anything amazing, but I had this idea for a film, and it's very much like a gimmick idea. Do you see Bird Box? In the movie with what's her name, and Sandra Bullock, and she has a blindfold. She can't see. I haven't actually seen it. I just know the gimmick of it. She's wandering around in the woods with a blindfold, and if she sees the monster, she's dead. Anyway, so the movie idea that I have is like a high concept, low budget. So it's a gimmick notion, and I'm very much like, I usually share every idea that I have, and I don't care. I don't think anyone would ever steal anything that I have. Like I'm really, it doesn't matter to me. But this idea, I feel like I don't want to share because it's so simple, and I don't think it's ever really been done, that I feel like it could just be, and it's like, it's somebody took it, I couldn't really say anything about it.
But those are the best, aren't they? I mean, the like this Sandra Bullock one. I mean, what do you need? You don't need. I think I did see it, but if I'm right, you just that's such a great MacGuffin, isn't it? Because you don't need a monster, you don't need anything, and you can create.
Right. It says you need a forest, Sandra Bullock, and a blindfold. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I remember seeing that trailer and going, ooh. Ooh. And I feel like this idea that I have, which is only just an idea, and I made it actually, my son was home for Thanksgiving, so he and I went out and we made a minute long, not trailer, but just sort of like proof of concept thing. And I've shared that with my filmmaking director friend, Robert Bartolome, who we spoke to on an earlier episode. So he and I are sort of starting to work on that. We're throwing ideas into the pot of like, how can we take this and wrestle it into a story.
Brilliant.
I wish I could I can share I could share it with you.
Yeah, you can share it with me, but that's not going to help anyone who's listening. But
but you could go, ooh, that is amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. And then the people could feel even more left out.
Yeah,
which is the goal of this podcast.
Yeah, exclusion. Yeah. I heard a great phrase today. I was talking to a business friend, and he was talking about, I was showing him the document for Hold Excalibur, and we were talking about that, and he said he was talking about talking to investors, and he said his mum had a great phrase for people who really want to know the detail of the costs and all that. It's the people who want to know where the fart came from and where the stink went.
Oh God.
Which isn't one of those great old, mum or grandma phrases, isn't it?
Right, but then it starts to feel like, isn't that everyone secretly? Don't we all want to know that?
I don't think so. No. I know lots of people who don't want to.
I guess I'm that kind of person then, and I don't want to be. I want everyone to be with me in that.
Well, no, I
feel
don't
bad.
think I'm. No, I don't want to. Well, he was saying that the essence of a great business leader is to hire good people and, get them together and say, here's your responsibilities. I'm going to leave them to you and assume, and I'm going to support you, give you what you need. But those are your responsibilities, and I'm not going to tell you how to do them. And we were sort of comparing notes, because I think that's what good directing is. You hire good people and then get out of the way, and you don't interfere with that. And I think also, sorry, were you going to chip in there? What are you going to say?
Well, I think, I was going to ask if that's what you if that was something that you were sort of using as a sort of great director concept, and whether you're applying that in your whole Excalibur experience. Not that you need to apply the lessons of the business leader, but I just wondered if that's where you were going.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I do generally, because I've got an idea, like, I think like everyone else, I've got an idea of what the other people do in the crew, but I'm not a great cinematographer, or I don't know how all the buttons work on the camera or anything, but I know the basics. But you hire an expert, you get an expert director of photography or an expert sound person, and that's their sort of remit. They have their little area of what they do, and then you liaise with them. But you don't sort of need to know what the focus puller is doing or direct them, or
I feel like that's what makes filmmaking such an odd art form. And like I just heard somebody today talking about Woody Allen being one of the great directors, right? And I just was like, there are a lot of his movies that I love, and I think he definitely has a certain type of a style, but he's really he's very good at telling the stories that he wants to tell. But I don't know if it makes him, and getting, and doing he's made a lot of movies, and, regularly putting out movies. It was Alan Alda was talking about it, and he said the thing about Woody Allen is Woody Allen on set doesn't talk to anybody. He doesn't like talking to people in real life, so he doesn't talk to people on set. And Alan Alda just loves talking to everybody, and so he found that, difficult. But at some point, he understood this is a reflection of who Woody is and how he is, and he just kind of lets everybody do what they do. But it's strange to think of him as a great director when he's not talking to anybody and is just hiring all the right people, and doesn't really have he's not, his films aren't preposterously beautiful, nor are they tremendously, edited or executed. I don't know if we think about him as the way we might like to think about Martin Scorsese or, Quentin Tarantino. So I guess it's sort of like, what is the art of film directing? Like, because part of it seems like what you're saying is like, get the right people in the right places at the right time and let them be, Or is it seeing a story, knowing how to tell it, finding all the pieces that can help you tell it, and then sort of like setting them in motion and then documenting it as best you can? And it's a curious, form of art, and I just wonder what a great director feels like at the end of a movie. Do they feel like, I just made a great work of art, or do they feel like I just launched a successful McDonald's franchise? Does it feel like a business thing that you've completed, or does it feel like a great work? I've never finished one, so I don't know. But the way you make it sound, and the way I've been thinking about it, it seems a little bit more on the side of business than on the side of art.
I don't know. I think I always think that it's never clear. Nothing's ever clear, because this is a friend of mine who was an agent said you never get to the actual champagne cork popping moment, because she said she'd have a client who'd get a big movie role, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, great," she'd ring them and they'd say yeah, and then they'd say, "Well, you've got to be here on Thursday. Oh, wait a minute, how are we going to get the hotel? And then wait a minute, you need to get the childcare for that, and then we need to talk to them about the where I'm going to live and all that sort of thing." And then it would get, it wasn't a defined It was it's logistics, and I mean, everything I've ever finished, I've never felt, well, hey, great,
Right.
that's done, and let me take a step back and examine objectively what I feel about it and put it in this slot. It's I think you always feel. I mean, I know your feelings are amazingly ambiguous when you. I mean,
Yes.
You've completed some amazing things, and
I don't. That's why I don't agree. But I think I'm hoping that there are people out there who do have the champagne cork pop moment, because it just seems like such a maybe I don't like the idea that that's a fantasy and that nobody has that. Like, I mean, at some point Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach had to have a champagne pop moment, with Barbie. Like, they had to go. They can't have just been troubled and dark and depressed and dark feeling as it crossed the $1 billion threshold and became the biggest movie of the year.
I don't think this would have felt necessarily. I think there's a halfway point. I mean, I think they were probably just so busy. I mean, you know what it's like if you have you have something that is finished, then you've got other stuff after it. I mean, especially in.
They had a moment. Come on. There's a time when they're in the hotel room and there's a big whatever it is downstairs, where they're going to be honored and feted and everyone's going to love them and look at them with just such admiring eyes, where they just, stood together in the dark of the hotel room and looked around to see if there was some champagne, because that was the time to do it. And then just maybe fell into each other's arms, I hope. I don't know. I want there to be. I want there to be a finish line.
Yeah,
where
I do.
Your arms go up in the air and you're like, I did it. I did it. I'm not crossed that finish line, but I want there to be one.
But no, you've crossed it. You see, and you're saying there isn't one. But I mean, you've done.
But I was in last place, Dan. No medals were for me.
Well, you see some, like. You see a boy band or something, and you see them in front.
You
do?
You?
Yeah, you see them in front of. I see someone like Robbie Williams. No disrespect to Robbie Williams, and I see his music. I see him in front of I don't know 50,000 people, and I think, he doesn't do it for me. But so I don't know what point do you think? Oh yeah, I've conquered the world, or I'm the best, and then
I mean, maybe you never do. I mean, I know Steve never. He even though I feel like Steve is incredibly successful and has it all, sort of, in a way. Yeah, he's still like, I'm not there yet. It's
this
like,
is our friend.
So
Steve
he seems
Conrad,
kind of Mount. So he seems kind of Mount Everesty. Yeah. I was trying to be casual.
Okay.
So. I sort of see him like he's in the Himalayan mountains. Maybe he's not on Everest, but he's on, one of the big ones up there. And, why would he want to climb any higher or be any higher? Like it's perfectly, like, that's success to a certain extent, whatever however you define success. But no, there's more, there's higher, there's, and so he's still reaching. And it's probably true. It's probably always the case that there's, at least, I don't know if it's healthy. I don't know if it's meaningful, but that drive to, go ever higher on the ladder seems to be very human, or at least in our current world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're lucky in a sense that it's art that we feel the need to do that with, because, you've got like the likes of Donald Trump, who have a void within them that they have to constantly try and fill with money or approval, and it's never full. And I look at someone like Neil Gaiman, who you think must be, by any measure, enormously accomplished. I mean, he's so successful. I mean, everything he touches sort of turns to gold, and yet he keeps. He's always advertising his stuff, and you see there's a constant drive there,
right?
And I wonder if the secret is really to be running in your lane and enjoy the run. Try and be satisfied with the run rather than with crossing some finish line, because once you've crossed it, you'll find another.
I don't know, but I feel like that sort of relentless work ethic speaks to some dissatisfaction.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I do think it would be natural, if you were satisfied, that the state of satisfaction would lead toward a quiet place, a moment of rest, or I'm just gonna go off by myself now and let all the furor of this TV show that I just did, that was a big success, I'm gonna let that quiet down and calm, so I can think, rest, remember who I am, and wait for inspiration. And then if that comes, I'll make something else. But if it doesn't, that's okay. But I feel like the world at that high level doesn't allow that. So, people like Neil and Steve have to keep throwing stuff out there, or that world will close the door on them. That's their fear. They worry that if they aren't putting out work consistently, they're not in the face of the world, sticking their face in the face of the world, that they're going to be left behind and considered sort of defunct, like no longer active. So
I don't know, because that... sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that, their work doesn't show to me really any signs of deferring to populism. So, for example, Steve's series, which if you're listening, you should really check out. It's called, one of the series anyway, is called Patriot, and it's on Amazon in the UK. I don't know where it's on in the States, but I think it's still available.
It was produced by, it was an Amazon show.
Yeah.
It was one of their...
And it went to
in-house things.
2 seasons, but it's one of the most strangely idiosyncratic and pure creations I've seen. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's really, you look at it. I thought it was going to be a sort of just a kind of spy show or a kind of cop kind of procedural, just by looking at it. And I started to watch it. I was thinking, what the hell is this? And it's so weird. And it's kind of like, it's got a very indie, strange and pure sensibility to it. And so I don't find Steve's work, I don't find it giving, sort of conceding anything to what...
I don't think that, I'm not saying that it's sort of like, oh, I have to find something that's popular. It's more just, I have to keep working. I have to keep putting material out there, or it seems like I'll disappear. Like the phone calls won't keep coming. And I think there's a truth to that. I think, if you put out a TV show every year, you're going to continue to get lots of calls. But if you miss a year or 2 years, you don't have something out there, the calls stop coming. People don't think you're working or something like that. I've not experienced that. That's just my impression from him and from others that I know in the business, that they fear that the phone calls will stop coming.
Yeah,
so they keep working. They keep going, and it seems exhausting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that pressure to constantly be making stuff, but I don't really. I mean, I don't get any phone calls anyway, so it's not like they're going to stop. I don't know where the pressure comes from, but
not yet. You shall soon. Soon enough.
When I
2024, 2025, you're going to start hating the phone and loving it.
Oh, you know what I bought today? I bought some very fine fishing wire, because I'm going to insert a shot into the trailer, the teaser for Hold Excalibur, and it's going to be the sword coming out of the water, and I'm going to lower it in on fishing wire. And then,
oh my goodness!
Yeah,
special effects.
Yeah,
the lengths that will go to capture such beauty.
You know what? I think that it will look amazing. I seriously, I mean, I think it will look great. I don't think any amount of CGI could make it look better. I mean, I always think, we were talking about this. We were talking, me and we had a brilliant meeting. I don't know if I spoke about this in last week's podcast. We had a meeting with the art department and the creature effects guy, and to talk about this creature called an avanc, which is a monster from Welsh mythology. And we were talking about how we're going to realise the monster. And Todd, the creature effects guy, was saying that you just got to adopt the right technique and technology to make it look good for the occasion. So we were saying that, I mean, me and the art director Dave always talk about how CGI is maligned a lot. Everyone says, practical is best. And I think practical is broadly best. I personally feel practical effects are better, but what's bad is bad CGI. CGI isn't bad. It's that when you can tell it's CGI, and Dave coined it very well. He said, when you're thinking, how did they do that? That's when you've lost the audience, I think.
Right. I mean, nobody was upset with Jurassic Park.
No.
When that came out, I think people are only start talking down on CGI when it's bad. I think there have been some recent Marvel movies, TV shows like The Hulk, where the CGI just looked off. It didn't look like it wasn't meeting the standards, the high standards of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it's really only when it's bad, and then it's not that CGI is bad; it's just been badly implemented.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been done properly. But I think the ideal thing in terms of effects is really just whatever works. And if it can be done practically, do it practically. If it would be more beautiful, more majestic, more suitable to whatever that bit of the story is, if you can afford it. I mean, CGI is incredibly, incredibly, strangely, awfully expensive. I feel like it should be coming down all the time, but it's always more expensive than, doing something for real.
Yeah.
What are your plans then, like in terms of like how are you going to incorporate CGI? Are you going to do it, or are you trying to figure out how to do everything practically?
Well, to be honest, the beauty of this is that I can go and try it. And literally what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iPhone down to the canal. I'm going to have my son standing on the bridge, and he's going to lower the sword into the water. And I'm going to do it on an iPhone because I think I don't think anyone will notice that it's been done on an iPhone. I mean, this is granted just a teaser, and it'll only be watched on computer screens. It won't be watched on a cinema screen, mostly anyway. But it's the teaser itself was filmed on a fancy cinematic camera. But I think I can film it and then so if that works, I've got a sort of decoy. A decoy, not a decoy, what's the dummy sword, so that the prop itself doesn't get ruined. I'm going to lower that in and out, see if that works. And then I'm going to do it with the real prop, if that works, and see how to do it. I might reverse the footage, so I might lower it in and then reverse that footage so it looks like it's coming out. And I'm going to then do what we're terming a sword's eye view. So I'm going to attach the camera to the sword, and then I'm going to drag it through some waterfalls and rapids. And see if that, to have it, give it the swirling feel as it comes up through the water.
I love that idea. I love the idea of the sword's eye view.
Oh, good.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job. That was a good meeting.
Again,
I mean,
that's not my idea. It's the Dave, the art director's idea. So I don't want to take credit for it, but I'll take credit for standing in the water in a Welsh waterfall, dragging the sword through it. And I think I'm just going to try. It's going to be incredibly crude.
When is this happening? tomorrow?
I don't know, because I need a dull day, because what you...
Oh, like silvery overcast, nothing of a day?
Yeah, because you can then alter the light conditions, but what you can't do, it's much more difficult to take out glare and
It's interesting.
Sunlight, yeah.
I feel like in the old days, I mean, this is probably still the case, but it just made me think, there was the mythical, or it's real, but golden hour, when it's the best time to film, and it's sometime around sunset, maybe before then. But it almost feels like what you're suggesting is that maybe because of the nature of of cameras now, the way that they are in light, that it's almost better to have a neutral light than it is to have like some beauteous light, because you can do whatever you want with the image. If you've got that neutral light, you can take it any direction you want almost.
Well, again, this isn't my speciality, but I think you can either use golden hour. Once you get golden hour, in other words, the hour before sunset, you get such an amazing quality of light, the low light, and you get light behind things, so that you get them sort of outlined by they have almost an outline of light behind them, and they get this beautiful glow. And I think that would take such trouble and care and expense to simulate, and it still wouldn't look as good. I think what you can do with it on a dull day is you can manipulate that, because what I'm going to do on the sword is a close up. So it's just because we've got long shots and mediums, and we just want a close up of the sword coming up from the water. But I maintain, as you know, I'm sort of so enamoured of Gareth Edwards, his kind of ethic of being light, lean, and cheap, that I reckon I can do it on an iPhone. And in fact, you can follow whether I achieve it or not, because you can, if you're listening, you can go to secretplanetpioneers.com, where I put bits of stuff to show you what we're doing and how we're making this project and a couple of others that I'm working on. So you can sort of see behind the scenes as we're doing it. So secretplanetpioneers.com.
That was a long way to a pitch for the website. But you got it in there.
It was a long walk. Look at the view.
I'm going to start with my very fine fishing wire, and it's going to lead into a really nice something.com. Secretplanet.com.uk?
No,
did I say it right?
You didn't.
I ruined it.
Secretplanetpioneers.com. And which is itself a kind of art project, which I've been working on because I don't want to plug my own stuff, but it's free, so it's allowed. So what secretplanetpioneers.com is there is the Secret Planet, which is an art project in itself. And today we've been doing, the art director's been doing a map of the secret planet. And what will eventually happen is that you can, for a very modest fee, you can buy some land on the secret planet, and we will name features after you or your loved ones or something. So you could get Mount Sean or something for 10 quid, and that's then it will go on the globe of the secret planet, which you'll be able to look at online.
Mount Sean.
Mount Hurley.
That's Hurley. Weird when you say it. Do you like your name? I don't love my name. It's just Sean Hurley. It just sort of sits there for me, sort of like, I don't want. I mean, I wish that I was like, oh, Mount Sean, that's great, or Mount Hurley, that's worse. But I don't know. Well, I might get a new name.
I think you should. Yeah, I think. Let me think of a name for you,
please.
But I think Sean Hurley. To be honest, I mean, this could be complete prejudice because I'm close to Ireland. I just think, there's, are you right there, Sean? That was Mrs. Hurley. That's how I think of Sean Hurley. When I think of you, let me think. I think of Calvin Smith, or
Calvin Smith. You mean the Economist or something?
No.
Or the philosophical?
No, I just mean
philosophical?
Just a name I came up with for you.
Calvin Smith.
Yeah. You're a tall man with intellectual-looking glasses. So I think...
I'm not very tall.
Are you not?
What? No. Well, how tall do you think I am?
You sound tall.
I sound tall?
Yeah.
Ooh. No one's ever told me that. I feel flattered. He's the tallest sounding man I know. No, I'm just I'm like 5'11".
Oh, right. Well,
I mean, which is like, I think just like the definition of average.
Well, on that note, I'm going to tell you something else that I thought is film related that, or might be useful. I mean, this is very, very unglamorous, but I've had trouble with the case of my phone because I got a waterproof case, an old singing, dancing, waterproof, bulletproof case for the iPhone, because I've got an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which is a sort of big...
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, bitches.
That's pretty advanced for you.
Oh, yeah. And
I was going to say, you probably had like an iPhone 6.
No, it's so I got this to do this filming with, and I got a waterproof case, and I took careful care to choose to research it. But what waterproof cases happens with them is that the front, if you use them regularly, just in normal use, that the front screen cover starts to slightly buckle and loosen. So you find that you can't quite as easily touch the screen.
Oh my God!
Effect. I mean, I know this is incredibly.
So it's waterproof. Boring. It's waterproof and Dan-proof now.
Yeah.
You just have this dead object that you just sort of hope something will happen when you pick it up.
Yeah.
You Facebooked a somewhat vague, somewhat damning review of what is it called? The Killer?
Oh yeah, The Killer.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see it. Yeah.
What did you post on Facebook? It was not promising.
I don't
maybe not want to see it.
Well, I don't like to be critical, but I.
Well, you went on Facebook and were critical.
Yeah, but no one reads my.
You don't
Facebook,
like to be critical.
Just.
So you just feel like you're gonna? That's like private. You're just talking to yourself.
No, I'll slag it off. Don't worry. I'll slag it. No, I thought it was a bit. I just, it was competent, and competent. David Fincher, I'm sure, will be thrilled that I thought his work was competent. But it's just it's an assassin thing, and he's very organised and meticulous, and it's the same tropes.
They always are.
Yeah, they all the hitmen.
They're always good at packing their suitcases, and
you watch it and you think, what was it? What was that all about? So
I mean, I feel like it's interesting. I was more interested because it is David Fincher, and because he usually doesn't sort of miss.
He didn't miss.
He's a pretty consistent guy.
Oh, this was consistent. But if you like that sort of thing, it's another of those. It's Fassbender bending his fass in great fashion. But it's what's it saying? It just didn't move me, and I guess that at that level I was irritated by that, because someone of Fincher's talent and Fassbender's talent, yes, I think you want a bit more, but.
Well, I think that's what his sort of brand is. The Fincher brand is that you are going to get a little bit more. I feel like you go to see a David Fincher movie because you don't think it's going to be just a solid assassin story. You're going to get something Fincher-y that's added into it, some extra bit of storytelling that kind of shines the Fincher flashlight on this thing and lets us see it in a new way. And so I think that's the fact that it doesn't do that, or that it just feels kind of pedestrian. It just makes you like maybe he had to do it. Maybe he was contractually obliged to do it, or who knows? Maybe he needed a movie.
Who knows? I mean, I tell you what, I did see. I think in some senses, Michael Mann is. I've seen. I haven't seen a Michael Mann for a long time, and I think that his work is incredibly visually slick. Sometimes without much substance. Occasion. That was my impression anyway. I saw Heat I watched Heat again, for about the third or fourth time. And that is a superb film. I mean, it's so...
I love Heat.
Yeah. It's
that
great.
ending scene is just one of the best.
Yeah. Yeah. The ending scene in the shootout in the city. My God.
Yeah.
It's relentless.
It's so beautiful. It's just... It's worth seeing that movie just for that part.
Yeah.
Just for that. I think that's what makes the movie great too. I mean, it's completely, absolutely solid and lovely, but then that bit of business just pushes it into its own territory and just, I don't know.
So I think that is the ignominious end to this episode of How to Make a Film. We've decided, I think, that next week we're going to review a film in a way, or we're both going to watch the same film and try and talk about it in a sensible way to give it sort of focus. But if you're listening and you have some ideas of what you'd like us to talk about or not talk about, drop us a line. And also if you have any questions about writing anything, or filmmaking, or TV, or plays, or novels, or whatever, if we can help, we will. It's podcast@secretplanet.co.uk. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. And we are looking for a new editor of our podcast. So if there's anyone out there that would like to get their feet wet or their hands or whatever gets wet when you edit a podcast, please let us know. Write to the email that Dan just mentioned.
Or indeed a producer producer editor would be great.
We need and 2 new co-hosts.
Yeah, we need them so badly.